In episode number 299 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover Jared Leto's Joker solo film.
We also have Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn, and he got asked a question about whether or not he would ever direct a movie in the DC universe.
And instead of a comic book highlight this week, we welcome back comic book writer Ted Anderson for his latest interview.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am the all-powerful Emperor Kelli.
And I am the Darth Vader, as seen in Justice League, as seen in Batman v Superman, and as will be seen this December for Aquaman.
But not seen in The Crow.
That's right. No, fuck that. We cancel that maybe later.
For those of you joining the show for the very first time, welcome. The way we format the show is first we're going to start out with some news, ranging from all those things that I just mentioned. We have our Patreon shoutouts, a Brocat block. Oh, I got those out of order. I'm sorry. And at the very end of the show, we have our comic book interview with Ted Anderson.
And if you're just joining us for the very first episode, you joined in on $2.99. So now you can pretend when you get to next week's 300, like, oh yeah, I remember all those times. I remembered in the 200s, everyone. You can say that. I remembered in the 200s.
All that time. You're only saying that because you are on the brink of a very important birthday.
Yeah, hitting my 30s. And very appropriately, we're about to hit the 300s.
Almost very close together.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
wow.
Very close. Just let the public know when my birthday is.
I didn't tell them the date. They can know when my birthday is. My birthday is a holiday that should be shared worldwide.
That's true.
Thank
Let's
you.
head into the news for the week.
As we just mentioned, after Guardians of the Galaxy, director James Gunn was asked on Twitter if he'd ever direct a DC movie. He responded with,
quote, I've been given the opportunity, but who knows? Maybe? End quote.
Oh, see, I read that differently. I've been given the opportunity. Shut up, James Gunn. Nobody cares.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 has been confirmed to be his next movie, so if he does get commandeered by Warner Brothers, it'll be after Guardians 3.
Would you want to see him direct a DC movie?
I'm half and half on this one, because I liked Guardians 1, I didn't like Guardians 2, so right now his track record is worse than Snyder's, worse than a lot of these directors, worse than...
Now, let me ask you this, did you not like Guardians 2 because of the directing or the writing? Because the story was pretty crappy.
He wrote it as well.
Oh, he wrote it? Yeah. Well, then shit.
Like, he started writing Guardians 2 before Guardians 1 came out, and then I'm pretty sure he already finished writing Guardians 3, so it's like this whole epic type of trilogy that he's already had the whole story with, and Marvel Studios has kind of given him the reins and been like, yeah, go ahead. I'm sure they have their editors in there and they tell him you have to work within these constraints, but I don't know, like, I wouldn't trust him to at least write something. I'm sure he can direct it just okay. I don't think there were many lines in the movies, more in Guardians 2, that I was like, hey man, get another read on that, do this again, shoot it this way. That didn't happen as often in Guardians 1, so if he doesn't write a DC movie, I think I'd have more confidence in whatever project he'd be on.
We could put him on a lesser project.
Isn't that what they were doing with him in Guardians?
Well, yeah, and he did a good job. So with one, so great for him.
He had mothers coming in and being like, asking for group merchandise, and it's like, if you had anyone saying that in 10 years, people would be coming in looking for group merchandise, you would have been called insane. You would have been laughed out the fucking store.
That's so true. My mom loves Groot. Remember, and we've told this on the show before, but this was a long time ago. She found a Sackboy plush
from the PlayStation.
What was that even called? Little Big Planet. She found a Sackboy plush that was my brother's, and she wanted to give it to her son. So she's like, "Here, I got him a baby Groot." I'm like, what? Mom, this is Not even. And so that she's playing with him, like, baby Groot, baby Groot. And I'm like, oh no, Mom. Oh, I love you, but no.
It's perfect. I love that because it's that type of that needs a name. I don't know what it is. Momisms.
Trolling.
It's not trolling because she's not trolling. I'm trolling by then calling it Groot forever and all times. Like Sackboy's now forever Groot.
Momism. Like
Momism, parentism.
We forget things. We don't know things.
It's because of momisms or mom mislabels, parent mislabels that we have Kingdom of Hearts, Call of Wars. We have NBA Y2K. We have Kingdom of Hearts is the Game of Thorns is another big one, which will be a shirt someday. I guarantee you. I'll put that up.
My Hero Academics.
That one I made up though because I'm waiting for someone to mess it up, and my boss told me it doesn't count if I make it up.
No, it doesn't count.
It sounds right though. It sounds like something that someone would mess
it up, so it doesn't count.
But my coworker did tell me that a parent came in and asked for not All Might merchandise, but Almighty. From My Hero Academia. So now it is forever Almighty.
I'm going to be one of these moms one day. And
please tell me.
You're going to make fun of me.
Tell me when you call something the wrong thing, and that is forever the name.
No.
It's got to continue, Kelly.
No, I can't do that because you're going to make fun of me.
Is there any team up, any type of comic that you would give to James Gunn, that you would trust James Gunn with on directing? Any type of DC property or project?
Maybe Justice League of America? I really don't know. I would really have to sit down and analyze his work and think about the DC and who I would put him on a movie with. Like you said, he's not the worst director. He would do an okay job. So yeah, if he ever did it, cool. I'd hold out slight hope.
I do like that people immediately are like, oh, so who are the Guardians of the Galaxy of the DC Universe? It's like, it doesn't have to be that specific, guys. Just any team up. And you nailed it, I think, with JLA. Like any Justice League of America movie, it doesn't have to include the main Justice League. Any team up type of movie, he'd probably do okay with.
Right.
He does better than Joe Whedon does, so it's...
hell yes.
Anyone does, though. It's really interesting that they have talked to him before, and it sounds like he's keeping his options open in case they don't renew him on another contract with Marvel Studios, which I'm guessing Guardians 3 is probably his wrap-up, so he's kind of waiting and seeing.
What if they did a team-up movie with, Static Shock and lesser-known teen characters?
It's still a team-up movie.
Make it
might
happen.
Work.
Do it.
I know he's been on Twitter a lot. We've talked to him talked about his tweets and how he does defend the DC Cinematic Universe, DC Extended Universe. He went out and defended Zack Snyder. He's done this on Twitter. He's gone and talked to the Marvel fans and said, "Quit! You guys are being the toxic ones. Knock it off." He's actually gone out there and done this. So I'm like, this is a little weird. It's bizarre. You don't see a director. And I'm sure Marvel Studios or someone could tell him, what interest do you have in speaking out in defense of the competition? But he does, and he does it on Twitter all the time.
I think that really shows who he is as a person, though. Now I'm getting into, the deeper meaning behind it. But that shows who he is as a person. He understands how difficult it is to put these things out and the scrutiny that you're under. And great for him. He's on, I guess, the shining light side of what it is. But it really shows that he understands these things and feels for the other side. He probably, hopefully, I don't know, watched the DC movies and thought they were good as films. I would hope that you wouldn't become a director and not enjoy films and enjoy directing and enjoy the different pieces of a movie, which, as we mentioned before, is what we really pull out of the DC movies rather than the Marvel movies. Not like Joss Whedon, who just, I don't know, throws something on a wall and says it's a movie. I don't even know what he does. So it makes sense. I think more directors should do that. If someone comes to them and says, this movie's shitty, they should be like, no, look.
Unless we're talking about Avengers.
Unless we're talking about then fucking shitty.
Just the things I agree with.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I forgot.
Another superhero movie or comic book movie, we touched on it a little bit last week. Well, we covered how Jamie Foxx was going to take on the lead as Spawn in the movie as written and produced and directed by Todd McFarlane, who is the co-creator of Spawn. Well, in an interview with comicbook.com, McFarlane revealed that this would not be an origin story.
This is the worst quote ever. I'm going to read it anyway. Quote, nope. Not interested in the origin story. I can't do it. I can't do it. I've seen too many movies that spend way too much time for the setup. Why do you think Wolverine was so popular? Because we didn't know who he was for a long, long time. And that's what made him cool, end quote.
I do know that McFarlane's whole take on his movie is he wants to go against the norm that is the big superhero films today. He does not want to do let's do an origin story, set up the character, tell the audience who he is.
Nope. I can't do it.
He wants to make something different. He wants to make a project. For him, he's treating it as art, but he's kind of being like that first time, like me, film student, the first year where it's like, I'm going to make the greatest thing ever right now. Then you make it and you look back at it later and it's shit, but you've got some shining tiny moments in there that you're like, all right, maybe this I can learn from and extrapolate and learn from the mistakes.
Right.
But he's still in that art house shade or section of it right now where he's experimenting and this is what Spawn's going to be. How many movies have you seen with McFarlane who's written, directed, and produced a movie? I don't think he's ever directed a movie that I know of.
No, not that I nope.
Now, I know the setup of Spawn, of the character of comics, especially with Image, is they were making the artists, the directors, the setups, the writers. They were taking the artwork and making that the forefront, like they're doing right now with the new age of DC superheroes. But the downside is, one, the deadlines, and that's what really hurt Image in the long run. But two, it also makes it so that they don't have the story first. Instead, they have the visuals. So this could be a very visually pleasing movie. The problem is he's also directing it. So I don't know if some of that experience will translate well into film, and it could. But there's also some problems of how good is the story going to be then? Is he more interested in creating this type of horror film where Spawn's going out and killing criminals, maybe fighting the Violator, but not really setting up the heart of the character or the heart of who he is? If he's able to do it this way, and this is the way that I would see it working, and I haven't directed or produced, so I'm on the same level as Todd McFarlane right now, I would make it so that maybe there were some actions in his takedowns of these villains, of these criminals, that maybe reflect upon who he is deep down, and maybe we get a slight flashback, not long, not much, if he wants to keep the action moving, or subtle actions that Spawn, the character, does that make him out to not just be this monster for justice, I guess, in this movie, but instead that there really is a human underneath whatever makeup they end up putting Jamie Foxx in.
My thoughts on this movie are very complex and profound, and that is, I don't care.
Yours is who cares?
Cares. I'm sure lots of people care. I don't even want to say who cares because lots of people care. Lots of people like Spawn. Lots of people think he's cool. Me, I'm not one of those people. I never cared. I remember back in the day of internet forums, one of my friends, my best friend, huge in Spawn, loved him, used to make little clay models. I don't know what that was all about, but that's what she did.
He's a cool looking character.
Okay. Made all this stuff for Spawn, and I was just like, don't care.
Do you think he's going in the right direction by trying to make it different than what the blockbusters are, aside from the fact that he's not going to have a budget on this thing?
I mean, sure, whatever he wants to do. It's his character. Like, if you are able to produce the movie that you've always dreamed of, whether it skyrockets, whether it's the best movie that's ever produced, whether people actually like it, you were able to fulfill your dream of taking a character that you fucking created in your bedroom, and now it's on the big screen and it's what you always dreamed it would be. Yes, go for it. Do what you want. Live that dream, McFarlane.
What I do want to see him do is the movie posters. I want him to draw all of them. It would be an incredibly lost opportunity for him now to draw his own movie posters and have that be the artwork of the product. Plus, it would probably save them a shit ton of money.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then he could work in his contract that he can get a cut of every poster sold, every poster shown in maybe a commercial, and every poster put up on a t-shirt. Get a cut of all of that. All the toys that he's going to make based on his own movie, he's going to make money. Even if the movie flops, which I don't think it will, given the low budget, he's going to make so much on the residuals, on the potential tie-in comic that he could make, because why not throw it up on Image? Why not do a mini-series tie-in comic that's taken more seriously than like your standard tie-in comics? There's a lot of really good directions and a lot of advantages that he does have, even if the movie ends up just being a complete disaster.
I want him to be listening to the show and be like, oh, yeah, I could do all that.
Take notes, Todd.
And then we need a cut, too.
Put me on as your partner. I'll help you out with this.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'll make a cameo as Aquaman if you want, and or the Crow.
I took 3 film classes.
And I came up with these ideas that shouldn't be too hard to come up with.
Which those 3 film classes may potentially be more than McFarlane took.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I might have more experience under my belt.
You're the expert, Mark.
Someone else that is an expert and looks to be starring and producing, but that starring portion is especially important because he is an Academy Award winner, and that is Jared Leto. He is getting his own standalone Joker movie, spinning off of the Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad, but more importantly, the Oscar Award-winning Suicide Squad movie, and this is all according to Variety.
This movie will be separate from the Joaquin Phoenix / Martin Scorsese Joker origin film set outside of the DCEU's continuity.
Thoughts, Palpa Kelly? Does the Emperor allow this?
We knew it was coming. The Emperor, sitting here is like, yes, more DC. Rah, more DC.
It feeds your soul. Are the lightning bolts made out of like tiny DC logos that you can't see?
No, it's the DC bullets.
Oh, that's perfect.
And then when I like super use the force is the DC switch. And then sometimes I launch those badass electric tigers.
What electric tigers?
The ones from the Silver and Gold, like passed up Pokemon. Those badass electric tigers. Were you drunk when you sent that tweet?
Maybe. Probably.
You were drunk when we were reading through it. Remember, you showed me all those Pokemon.
Yes, all the gold and silver uncut ones.
You were taking a hella long time to show me all of them.
Yes.
And then my favorite one was an electric tiger.
Okay, all right. So it's a Pokemon. See, you're mixing Pokemon with DC, so I'm still thinking, like, what electric tiger in the DC universe?
I'm mixing all my favorite things.
All your fandoms.
Yes. All my favorite things get mixed into my Palpa Kelly powers. It fuels me.
I had a couple of customers bring this up at the shop, and they're like, what do you think? They're like, for some reason, whatever the comic shop worker says becomes law.
Yeah, because
I don't know why.
You're cool.
I don't know why.
I think you're cool.
Most of the time, they agree.
What do you think? And it's usually about dinner or something. And you're like, maybe this. And I'm like, no, we're going to get this.
But I've had people, like, the way they approach and format the question, I know that they're going to disagree with my thoughts, and they'll still be like, yeah, that's true. Or, I agree. And it's like, I don't think so. A lot of times they're like, Marvel or DC? And I'm like, oh, I'm a DC guy. You know, I've always been a DC guy, too. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you could just tell.
You became a DC guy just now.
Like this handsome brown guy just told me. But they asked me about the Joker movie, and I always said that my response here is that you now have options. If you didn't like the Jared Leto's Joker, which I would say probably a majority, I guess a majority of viewers didn't like the Jared Leto Joker.
I liked him, but whatever.
Majority of them didn't, and you can instead watch the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, even if it doesn't count, quote unquote, even though a movie should stand as its own and you should enjoy it as its own. You have your option. You can not watch any more Suicide Squad 2s or 3s or Gotham City Sirens or the solo Joker film, and you can instead watch the other branch of Warner Brothers DC movies, which are out of continuity. They're just focusing on making good standalone movies and not worrying about how it connects in the bigger picture. It sounds like they're doing both, and that's what we're getting with the Joker. We're getting 2 versions of it. One of which is the more, I guess, contemporary Joker, where Jared Leto said he was inspired by, like, Mexican gangsters in jail. He actually visited prisons, and that's why you see, like, all the weird, like, tattoos and, like, the Mexican-style artwork and shit. But he's just, like, a regular Joker still with all the tattoos. It's kind of weird. It was kind of a weird mashup, but if you watch the movie, you're like, okay, fine, it's the Joker. Like, he's still portrays the Joker in a more loving way as far as how he treats Harley Quinn.
Still fucking crazy.
Still fucking insane, kind of. Like, you don't know what he's going to do, but you still know there's a whole plan behind it. So it fits the whole motive, and he's doing it different enough from the rest of the Jokers that came out before. So he kind of he carves his own path, right? And now, if you didn't like that, 1, you'll get another Joker 10 years from now. It's fine when they reboot all of this. But 2, you got the Joaquin Phoenix one.
Right.
So you're getting options. You're living in a time when you're going to have the option of which Joker do you want to see, and you never would have gotten that in the past.
It's like a choose your own adventure.
The only time I can think of, and I don't even know if like Mask of the Phantasm came out after Batman with Jack Nicholson. So it's not like they were going to make a second one with Jack Nicholson in the movie, and you can choose, like, you can have Mark Hamill or you can have Jack Nicholson. It was just like, that's the cartoon one. That's the live action one. Right. You have 2 live action ones. Pick your favorite. And if you don't, you have years of fucking Joker content. And if you don't like those, you have Joker comics today.
What you hear right now is future Daniel's rant when people go, I don't like this Joker.
I don't like either one.
Yes to all the things you just said. I have said it many times on this show. What a time to be alive. Whether you like the content or not, whether you like this movie or you like that movie or you don't like this movie, you have all these options. You have so many things that you can go. You can be like that man who watched Infinity War 63 times and just
47.
Whatever, wasted his life savings on bullshit. But whatever, he had that choice.
Very true. He did have that choice.
I enjoyed Jared Leto as the Joker. I will happily see the Joker solo movie, whether it has Harley in it or not. And I think if I were to choose, I would say leave Harley out of it and make a compelling Joker movie. Maybe at the very end, you have Harley come in. He's sitting in Arkham. It's the very end of the movie. And then she walks in the room.
Percentage that Batman shows up.
Well, duh, like 7 million.
7 million%, I agree.
Yes.
He is like the Nick Fury of the DCEU. He's been showing up in more of the different branch-off movies than any of the other characters.
No. Nick Fury is the Batman of the Marvel Universe.
You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
You got that backwards. Thank you. Batman has to be in everything. Because Batman is in everything. In the comics, he's got like a toe in like every single fucking thing. He knows everything that goes on everywhere. You think Superman does with his superhero? Nah, it's all Batman.
I'm going to spoil a part of Justice League #1 for you, and it's in the first half of the comic, so it's not like the big reveal in the book, so that's a warning to listeners as well. But there's a part in which Martian Manhunter has to blow up the moon. Earth's moon has to get blown up.
Is this Dragon Ball Z? Okay, whatever. Continue, please.
And Martian Manhunter says, I'm not powerful enough to stop it by myself. Even though he can transform into a giant, like, Martian dragon, he's not big enough to destroy the moon.
Shinron?
Pretty much.
All right.
So he telepathically sends a message to Batman. So Batman, and he tells him, do you still have those bombs active on the moon for your contingency? And Batman says, I don't have any bombs on the moon. And Martian Manhunter says, Batman, please, we're running out of time. And Batman says, yes, they're still there.
Batman fucking blows up the moon.
If he needs to, he will. Pretty amazing.
Because Batman's the coolest. But what's Batman think of blowing up the moon? You're gonna mess up the tides and shit.
Small price to pay compared to what they could have gotten themselves into. You read Justice League #1, you'll see. There's a reason.
Why is Batman so cool?
And Batman could probably wish the moon back. He doesn't need the Dragon Balls. He summons Shenron just by calling his name.
He stands on a cliff and just like glares, and Shenron's like, whoa, I'm here. Here I am, Batman. What do you need?
Who wins between Batman and Mr. Popo?
Batman.
Who does Shenron fear more?
Batman.
All right. How does Batman defeat Mr. Popo?
He bat glares him. No, see, with Mr. Popo and Batman would come to a mutual understanding, a mutual agreement of we are the most powerful beings in the universe. Mr. Popo would be like, he's worthy. Some crap like that. I miss Mr. Popo.
I miss him too.
Aww.
So we're finally getting television ads.
We are?
That are promoting, again, I should say. It's been a little while. I wish for the podcast. We've shown up in comic books.
Yes.
I've shown up on the big screen.
Ooh.
But we haven't shown up on, oh no, you showed up on TV. You were on Comic Book Man.
Oh, I was.
So we're good. We're on all fronts.
But we don't have a television ad.
Yeah, that's true. We need a TV ad.
All right. Who wants to pay for this? Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
DC Comics has started running television ads to promote its released and upcoming hardcovers for Dark Knight's Metal and its tie-in collections, commercials, television commercials for the comic books.
While I'm excited for the comic books, I still did not like Dark Knight's Metal.
The layman does, though. They love Dark Knight's Metal.
All right. Well, these are popping up on AMC, Sci-Fi, TBS, TNT, and True TV, as well as online.
Have you gotten a chance to see the commercial yet?
I haven't. I don't watch cable television or the internet.
I just got mine. Like, there's a file that got sent. They send out like a newsletter to retailers, and you can download the commercial if you want. And this is like a motion type of comic book.
Oh, I've seen them do that before.
It's like that, except they also 3D modeled original footage based on the character
Oh.
designs. So one of them was really clever. Have you seen the Batman statue, the Dark Knight's metal statue, in which is holding like an axe, like 2 axes in his hand?
Yes.
Very much like the cover. They made a big statue out of it, though. So at one point in the commercial, that statue, they use that model, and they make a 3D model of Batman like moving around and swinging the axes. And it's like they're also selling the statue while they're selling you the comic as they're selling you the hardcover. Like, it's fucking brilliant. And then they also 3D animate the Batman who laughs, and they even like voice over him like a weird Batman Joker crossover type of laugh on him, and then they promote the fucking comic book. It's like, this is also like a 90s style commercial because they're putting like hard rock music over it as well,
Of course.
and they're using like silver metallic font on it, so they know what they're
Do you hear
doing.
like shing ever
I believe
in
you
there?
do.
Oh my god!
I
Of course
believe
you
you
do.
do.
Of course you do.
Like, if you're gonna do this, you go all the way. And at the end, they show off all the hardcovers and available at a comic shop near you. It's a great commercial. I really like it, and I do want them to do more of it. But I know Dan DiDio did say in the past that it's not easy to get these out together. So I'm guessing we probably won't see another one of these commercials until Doomsday Clock wraps up. Until we get
Probably.
that hardcover that is Doomsday Clock. Although it would be smart of them. Do you think it's worth them investing in doing a commercial for Batman number 50, or should they wait for Detective Comics 1000?
The way I feel, I think they need to wait till the hardcover for Doomsday Clock. As much as I love Batman number 50, you'd have to already be playing those commercials now.
True.
Like, we're a month out from when this book is coming out, less than a month now.
Final order cutoffs are very soon.
Right. So they would have already had to be doing this. I think they should put a shit ton of advertising for this thing. And, maybe that doesn't end up on television, obviously, but it's still a book that you can advertise a lot. You can get more people in if they know about it. It's going to be a speculator book. It's going to be I haven't read it in forever. Let me fucking get this book. Like, that's what it's going to be. You're going to sell a lot of them. So I think, yeah, Doomsday Clock is the way to go. I don't know.
I think you might be right, because by the time that the fucking hardcover comes out for Doomsday Clock, we might have a few episodes of HBO's Watchmen out there. So you can also put As Seen on HBO and put that on the fucking commercial. Not on the books, because I hate when they do that shit. But put it on the commercial. Like, get in those people that only watch the TV show. And, oh, wait, there's a comic of this?
Oh, look at that. Let me go pick it up.
My favorite is when Walking Dead was hot, and it's not anymore. And I know people still watch it, but it's not as hot as it used to be like 2 years ago,
Right.
when I would sell a Walking Dead trade like every day. And I still get the comments, though, of like, oh, there's a Walking Dead comic book? Oh, they made a comic book out of The Walking Dead. It's like they made a show out of The Walking Dead comic book. So that's always, I want to see that with Doomsday Clock, if HBO's Watchmen ever becomes a thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they will. Even on HBO, you're going to get the commercial of, woo, Watchmen, Doomsday Clock.
Is that the commercial?
It's exactly how it's going to be. Listen, I am still suffering from my allergy attack. And I have mommy brain. You just have to give me a break. Can I get a little bit of a break? Just a little one. You're laughing at me.
We're going to get a break in 2 weeks.
Emperor.
2 weeks, we're going to have a break.
2 weeks?
Yeah, we're going to try to get Scott from Lazy Gaming Guys.
Yeah.
He's going to record an episode. We'll release that, and we'll get a week break. That's after episode 300.
Oof.
Little spoiler for the Brocad Core right there of what to expect. So DC Comics, this is our final news story. They have given retailers the go-ahead to start selling, speaking of which, Batman number 50 at midnight, along with the rest of DC's July 4th release date comic books. So as you all know, July 4th lands on New Comic Book Day. It lands on a Wednesday this year. So it's going to be fucking massive. You have the Batman Wedding, and then on Marvel's side, you have Captain America number 1, which should be the book that overtakes the holiday, that should sell the most. It's going to be the Batman Catwoman Wedding.
That is the most, Batman and Catwoman's wedding is the most patriotic thing ever.
Explain.
that is what I base my life around. Is romance of Batman and Catwoman. So that's what I'll be celebrating. People will be launching fireworks. Yay! 4th of July, America! And I'll be going, Catwoman and Batman's wedding! Yay!
They're like, what a great day. And it's like, I know, right?
Oh,
It's so beautiful.
Just the best.
Tears. And they're like, oh, she loves America so much.
So the other books you'll be able to pick up at midnight include Catwoman number 1, The Curse of Brimstone, number 4, Deathstroke, number 33, Green Arrow, number 42, Green Lanterns, number 50, Harley Quinn, number 45, Injustice 2, number 29, Justice League, number 3, Nightwing, number 46, Shade, The Changing Woman, number 5, The Unexpected, number 4, and DC Nation, number 2.
All of those at midnight at participating retailers. I will say that for the comic shop I work at, we don't do midnight releases, and we never will. The last time we did do them was during the Avengers vs. X-Men number 1, which was very anticipated. People were comparing it to Civil War. Even I was excited for it, and we weren't reading much Marvel back then. And, we did the midnight release. I stayed behind. I checked it out. And there were all subscribers that came in, and there was maybe 13 of them. And more recently, at one of our local competitors, they did the Doomsday Clock midnight release, and that was also like less than 20 people as well, and it looked like most of them were subscribers.
Aww.
And so it's like the midnight release, unless it's the owner staying behind and I guess opening up the doors, the subscribers are still going to come by the next day to pick up the comic book.
Right.
They're still going to show up to pick up their pulls. And if it's not like, oh, you didn't have a midnight, I'm going to go to the other store that did. That doesn't happen. And the other thing that doesn't happen is extra sales. It doesn't generate more than what just the pickups are, which you're going to sell anyway the next day when you open on New Comic Book Day. The only retailers that I think should open up at midnight are the ones that are going to be closed on the 4th of July. And if you're a comic shop that is going to be closed on 4th of July, you're an idiot. You don't like money. You don't like income.
Right.
You're not in it for the business. Because the 4th of July, there's going to be a lot of people out. A lot of people are off that day. And a lot of people are out there spending money because of the 4th of July sales. They're going to come in, they're going to impulse spend. Even if you're not running sales, they want to drop money. And Batman number 50 is an easily sellable item. That's the Batman Catwoman wedding. What? Even someone that's not picked up 1 through 49, they're going to buy Batman number 50.
Hell yeah.
Do you like 4th of July? We got Captain America number 1 right here.
We got Batman Catwoman's wedding right here. Yes.
They will buy that as well. And that's going to be like your non-standard priced comic as well, just like Batman number 50. So these are things that you can sell to these casual buyers on 4th of July. You should be fucking dope. And not at midnight, but at your regular hours on the 4th of July.
Maybe I just don't understand the business, but to me, selling comics at midnight doesn't really make sense. Video games, I understand.
Because they want to play it right away?
Because you want to play it right away. You're going to stay up all night and play it. But a comic book, I mean, and maybe it's because I'm old now, but you also have an older audience who goes to pick up comics, whereas with video games, you have a younger audience who can afford to stay up all night.
Who may not have work the next day.
Who may not have work the next day. Me, I'm not going to go pick up a book at midnight and then go home and get home at 12:30 and say, yeah, let me read this book right now. Or I'm going to get up at 9 o'clock, like an old person the next day, and go pick up my book and then have energy and read it then.
Go to your local coffee shop, sit down, read it, enjoy it. It's an experience. And I'm not saying video games aren't, but it's a different
crowd. It's a different business.
Correct. It doesn't work the same as like a movie sale or a video game sale. Your comics, they'll be fine. They won't be fine if you don't open on 4th of July. So fucking open on the 4th of July. That's one thing like the owner asked. He's like, so are we going to be open regular hours? I'm like, yeah, open to fucking close every regular hours all day, all night.
Add an extra hour in there. I don't know, whatever.
It's just like Easter. Like all the years of GameStop that I've worked, and I worked on Easter, people drop money on Easter.
Yeah, they do.
Sure enough, on that Sunday when I opened, great fucking total on Sunday. And I'm like, every single Sunday, every shop should be opened on Easter. Every comic shop should also be opened on Easter. I will gladly be the spokesperson. You listen to me. Who is now giving like economic advice on CNN? Who is like the economic guru?
I don't fucking know.
Who's the anything guru? I'll be the
Apparently
Oprah
you.
of fucking comic shops.
Okay.
Let me be the Oprah of fucking comic shops, and I will tell you how to run that. What hours do we open at least? I don't know about the rest. Because I under order and over order all the time.
For me, 4th of July was never a holiday where I was like, yeah, 4th of July, woo! I don't know. I don't really care.
I was during my teenage years because there was a local fair at my town
Okay.
up in Illinois, and there would be like a carnival, and it wasn't like the greatest carnival, but up in Illinois, like that's a carnival. You're not living in Florida where you have world-class amusement parks. You have the carnival, and you would see your high school friends there. You would go with your parents, you would go with your friends, and you would just drop some money and do some stupid, games and carnival shit. But there would always be like a big concert at the end. The biggest names that I saw were, and it's funny that I'm forgetting the name because it's like, that's not a big name then. Journey actually played at this fair one year, and it's like, this legitimized that fucking shit. Like, who got Journey to play at this thing? And it was the 90s, and it's not like they were so far like old. No, it's like fucking Journey, Eye of the Tiger. Holy shit. And yes, they did sing Eye of the Tiger because you have to.
Of course they did. You have to.
And it was that kind of carnival. So I did celebrate 4th of July. It was like a whole weekend thing. It was fun.
Wow.
There was a 4th of July parade.
I never knew this about you. I'm learning new things.
Do you guys have 4th of July parades here?
I don't know. I never
You've
went
got
to
to have
it.
4th of July parades.
I know that Disney does special 4th of July fireworks on the 3rd and the 4th.
No, I mean just like local neighborhoods here. Like the local firemen, the fire trucks go by, candy thrown out, nothing?
Not that
That's
I know.
insane. That's weird.
We do that for Christmas. Here's the thing about Florida and the 4th of July. Do you remember the...
Do you fire off guns?
No. I mean, somewhere. Do you remember the level in Mario where the sun tried to kill you?
Yes.
That is Florida in July. So
that is Florida all the time.
Maybe this is why I didn't celebrate it, because it's too hot to fucking leave your house. My parents go to the beach every year because my aunt stays at the beach. And so they go to the beach every year. Granted, it's overcrowded, but that's what they do. And I usually work. So I don't know. I celebrated 4th of July with an ex-boyfriend, so you can guess how long ago that was. And there were just a bunch of people sitting around drinking, and I was 16, so I did not.
Was it at a backyard type of thing?
It was, if a backyard is in front of a lake in the middle of nowhere, yeah, I guess. I don't even really remember it that well.
If you had said swamp, I would have been like, that is very Florida. Tell me more.
It kind of was a swamp.
Tell me more, Kelly.
The name of the city was Howie in the Hills.
That's not Native American. Are you sure this is Florida?
It definitely was. Definitely was. So yeah, that's the only 4th of July I ever celebrated, and I mean, it was what it was.
I'm learning something more about you.
That was like nothing about me. I don't celebrate 4th of July.
Well, you can celebrate 4th of July by going to your comic shop, letting your comic shop know they should be open on 4th of July. Tell them Daniel said so, and you will thank Daniel later when you look at your profits.
I think my local comic shop will be open on 4th of July.
I think so, too. I think so, too. So it was a lighter news week.
Yes.
And it works out because we do have this interview near the end. For our comic book highlight, it's going to be this interview. So next, let's head into our Brocat block and get a little more personal with the Emperor and Darth Vader Daniel as we talk about our lives and what happened this week and how it sort of relates as well to some of the stuff that we've been watching and we've been reading. You went for, longtime listeners know that you've run marathons in the past. You've done things that I could never do and will never complete. But ever since you being a mom, now that you are a woman.
Yes, I'm a woman. I'm not a young lady anymore. I'm a woman.
Ma'am, right?
Ma'am. People call me ma'am all the time, and I'm like, calm down, kid.
I get served pretty often now.
Yeah. But then I realize, then I think about my age and their age, and I'm like, I guess to them I am a ma'am, but I just don't feel that old. I feel simultaneously old and young at the same time. It's an odd place to be.
Well, you started your runs again.
I did.
Did you? How long did you run?
Ugh, too long.
How many miles? How many miles?
About 1.5 miles, almost. And it was interval running. So when I ran my marathons, I would do interval. So run for this long, walk for
long
this
distance,
long.
right?
And then, you pace yourself. And I said, okay, getting back into this because I haven't run in 1.5 years at least. Because I ran my last marathon. The last time I ran was January 2017. And I haven't run since then. Mm-hmm. So we're almost to 1.5 years now. And just with everything going on in my life and all the stresses, and it it's just a stress all the time between home life and work. And somebody mentioned to me the other day, they said, did you ever think about starting to run again? Because the endorphins, when you run, it makes you feel better and helps you work through that stress. I'm like, fuck it. Yeah, why not? I'm willing to try anything at this point. And it actually really helped. So I did my interval running, which was 30 seconds running, 1 minute walking, just to ease myself back into it.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo it like I did.
Yes. And I learned I'm really fucking out of shape. But I ran a mile in under 14 minutes, which isn't great.
That's sixth grade Daniel times.
Right?
And not far from now Daniel times.
But it was a nice, easy pace. I wasn't particularly out of breath. I'm not really sore today after having run. And it felt good to get out there and do it again. Leo was fine. He was just chilling in a stroller like, meh, whatever.
You were running with Leo?
Yeah. I had, what am I going to do with him?
I thought he was being taken care of.
No.
I don't know. Like, I didn't think you just left him
care
somewhere. I don't know. I thought someone was watching him.
Yeah, I was watching him. So I put him in a stroller and we just ran around the neighborhood and he was chill. I gave him a cracker. I'm like, here, kid, have this cracker. And he likes going for walks anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had a good little run. Granted, I used to run twice as fast. My fastest mile was around 8 minutes, a little less than 8 minutes. And now I'm at 14 minutes. But it was a step in the right direction. He's 8 months old now. I'm really at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get back in some sort of shape. I'm ready to do something and feel good and not just kind of feel shitty all the time. So that now you're like real deep in Kelly's life, like, whoa, Kelly, calm down. So that's what I did. And it was fun. And I'm excited to continue to do it until the sun starts attacking me again, because we're almost there.
You just got to run early in the day.
Oh, no. Late
you got to celebrate 4th of July early in the day.
Nope. None of that.
You also got the chance to sit down and consume some episodes from My Heroic Academics.
I did. I watched a little bit of it, and I have a lot of questions.
Are they generic anime questions, or are they very specific?
They're very specific.
Tell me. I will ignorantly give you an answer.
Okay, so that man who found out that his quirk was he could paralyze you if he tastes his blood, how did he first learn that he had that quirk?
We got to see his origin story. We don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he was trying to be a vampire. Like, there's several ways that you can discover that quirk. You're right. It could be an interesting origin story.
It could be really creepy and sexual. I don't know.
Next question.
That's as far as I got. That's all I can think of.
What do you think of the show?
I think it's pretty good. It has, like you've mentioned before, every single generic anime anything. Mm-hmm. So you have the loner kid, and you have the kid who can't do anything, but he's going to do everything that he can. And, the girl that everybody likes, and the hero that everybody looks up to but has a secret. Like, there's all those things in it. And obviously it works really well for the show because it's a very popular show and they're continuing to make it. So that's awesome. Is it for me? Probably not.
Chris on Discord did say that it was the perfect beginning anime type of show.
I could see that.
I disagreed with him, though. So you agree with him?
I could see why it is, because it gives you an introduction to, like, everything. There's somebody in that show that everybody could relate to.
I guess so. I don't know. See, I don't view it that way as like if someone said that he wasn't an anime guy and no anime has ever clicked with him, and I don't think My Hero Academia would be that anime either, because as you mentioned, there's so many tropes that are in so many anime that are all jam-packed into this one show. It's like every character is pretty much a trope. So if you're already not into anime, I think it's very off-putting to be bombarded with all of these overly exaggerated anime trope characters kind of being in the show all the time. So I actually don't think it's a good introduction to anime. I think Pokemon is.
I guess. And I don't even consider Pokemon anime.
And what's funny is it's at the Real Sci Tech, who's a very big Pokemon guy. So I'm curious if he did like the anime or not. He'll probably let us know as soon as he listens to this. And I think that is probably a good anime right there. Maybe Dragon Ball Z. Fuck it. Dragon Ball Z is the perfect beginner anime.
Dragon Ball Z is great.
If you don't like Dragon Ball Z, then anime is not for you. That's the barometer. That's the test.
What about Avatar: The Last Airbender?
That's definitely not anime. It's inspired by anime. I remember my friend Tim growing up used to hate Avatar: The Last Airbender and also Teen Titans because they were trying to rip off anime, and he was a big like anime guy. Right. So he didn't like shows that tried to do that same style.
But wouldn't they be good introductions to anime?
Only if you don't view anime as like the holier than thou type of thing. Because if
Okay.
you do, then you'll never view those things as anything anime. So if you're like a more type of, oh yeah, I guess it's sort of anime, then yeah, you can probably view it that way.
All right.
If you're a casual anime viewer, yes, you will agree with your statement, what you just said.
I always agree with myself. No, I agree with Dragon Ball Z though. Yes, definitely. But there's so many animes that we haven't seen. I really like Yu Yu Hakusho still. Haven't watched any more of it. Inuyasha is great.
Mm-hmm.
Have you watched Inuyasha?
Not really. I can't say that I've sat down and seen it. I've seen bits and pieces, but never actually dedicated some time to it.
Well, then we're going to have to watch some. And then I'll
That's fair
introduce
enough.
you to some fan fiction.
Fair enough. You watch some My Heroic Academics, and I'll watch some Inuyasha.
Okay.
You're also helping me out with the comic book room.
Yes.
So probably in a few months, you may notice a difference in sound with the podcast, and it could be a worse thing or a better thing. I know it won't be as good as it could be. It won't be as good as it will be a year from now because we'll adjust and we'll, refocus on the settings and everything. We're going to get a new mic next month, which will then be combined with this comic book room that you're helping me out with as like a Father's Day / birthday gift. And instead of being like in our recording studio, which is a closet, and it does wonders like with the insulation and the soundproofing and everything, you wanted to do like a proper table type of setup to our recording instead of sitting on the floor with clothes right, all around us.
Yes. So really my motivation behind it is I know that, obviously we're almost episode 300. This podcast is really important to you. This is something that we're going to continue to do for a while. And your comic books themselves, obviously, are very important to you as a collector. Well, now we have a little man, and this little man is going to get into everything very, very soon. He's already starting, but I know that it's going to be a stress on you if he's going through your computer stuff, like, oh, getting over here, now I'm touching your glass cases, and now I'm pulling down your books and all this kind of thing. So you already have a comic book room, and what I would love to see and what we are working on is reutilizing that space so that you can have something you can close the door and little man never touches your stuff. That will be your sanctuary.
Want to make it more that he wants to get in there since he's not allowed in that room?
No, because you just give him enough toys and out of sight, out of mind. That's how it was with kids.
Can I call it the West Wing?
That's fine. Go ahead. You can call it the West Wing.
So how are we redoing the room? What are we exactly reworking?
So we're working on a number of different things, and I'm still researching. I have become a hyper researcher in recent years when it's something that I want to know about. So we're going to get some of those foam things to put on the walls that will absorb the sound. I'm trying to figure out a way to absorb the sound behind us. So we're essentially going to make a little closed off section where we can go into and pull a curtain or hang something so that it'll help absorb the sound, and then we can be in that little studio and record, and then we can move it to the side, and then you can, computer's already on the table. You can edit right there. Boom, done. You don't have to. Right now we have to unplug everything and then get up and our bones pop and creak.
That's true. There's always cursing when we get up.
Fuck, we're too old. Always. We won't have that anymore. We'll have a nice space. We can decorate it really well and really cool. We found some interesting thing, a different kind of cabinet to store all your comic books in so that you're not, again, having to get down on the floor and pull out the long boxes. There'll be a nice drawers.
It's bad for your back.
It is. So we're trying to change that up, though. It will be a work in progress. I think we should chronicle this work in progress and take some pictures, some before and after.
Not a bad idea.
And talk about it and post a blog or something. There's very few blogs about this kind of thing as I'm trying to research, which absorb sound more, rugs or blankets, I'm trying to figure out all these things. But I really want you to have a space that's all your own, that's not, I don't want to say infested, but overrun by a dog and a baby and a wife. And because that's what's going to happen. We already put Leo in his walker and he terrorizes the house.
More
right?
threats. I just keep hearing threats.
Imagine when he's not in his walker and he's just free running.
More threats, Kelly.
I'm just letting you know.
You're adding to it.
I'm letting you know the reality of the situation. Would you rather I let you know the reality, or would you rather just discover it one morning when there's little handprints all over your glass cases?
It's going to end up being both anyway. I'm still going to discover those handprints, even though I know they're coming. Because I'll walk up to it, I'm like, there's those fucking handprints. I've discovered those handprints that I knew were coming.
How are they going to get there?
Well, we have glass cases out in the living room.
Well, right. I thought you were putting those in your comic room.
I don't want to fucking move those things again.
Well, then you're going to have handprints.
I instead want to reason with my baby and tell him, son,
Okay.
listen to your father.
And how well does that work right now? When you go, dude, stop kicking your feet.
He does kind of look at me like, huh?
It's going to be a long time before you can reason with your child.
Stop threatening me.
He tries to crawl out the doggy door. I'm not threatening you. I'm just letting you know. Fathers out there chime in. Are you able to reason with your baby? They're all going to say no. I am just trying to help you now to save you hurt in the long run.
Well, you will all be affected by this, listeners, Brocat Core members, when you do hear the difference in 2 months. Hopefully it's for the better. I know it will be for the better for us as well as sitting down on a table and actually doing it. I think it's going to be more casual. It's going to be more personal, I think, as well, and to having my own space. And I think that I can share more pictures of us actually recording. I wouldn't mind doing like a short, like every time we record, doing like an Instagram live for the first 20 seconds, however much that Instagram allows you to be, or even Twitter, do one for each. And like right now, I could be holding my phone up and video recording us talking and kind of showing off like, hey, this is them recording in their space. Like it's another way to promote the podcast. But the way we have it set up now, it's not Twitter presentable. It's not camera presentable. It's not something like, even though this isn't a brand, like it's a podcast, right?
Right.
I still treat it as if, right, exactly. I treat it as if it should be. Like whenever I take a picture, whenever I post something on Twitter, on Instagram, and everywhere else we're at, I am careful about what I post. I am careful about if I, take a picture of a comic book panel, I spend a good amount of time making sure that it's clear and it's viewable to you, that it'll work on your phone and not just like, oh, well, my brightness is set down. Like I think of all these things, and I think it's just my brain that's constantly overworking and thinking of all these scenarios, but it's all part of the process of the work. And for me to just like, I could just be the very casual fucking guy that's like, yeah, here's our microphone. It's got a sock on it because it works just as well as any kind of fucking pop filter.
And you know what? It fucking does.
It really does. But that's not something I'm going to take a picture of. I'll talk to you guys about it, and that's great, but that's different than actually, throwing it up on Instagram. So I'm hoping that after we do that I can at least do that very easy thing of just holding it up, hit send, and done. Like it's another thing that you guys can appreciate. And then on Patreon, there's actually another portion of that where it's an exclusive live feed that you can also throw up, much like Instagram, and make it a Patreon exclusive type of clip. So there's a lot of things that we can explore and do. And I think it'll add to the quality or the value that you guys have in listening to the show and investing in the show.
All of those valid things.
So with the Brocat block finished, let's head into thanking the people that make the show possible and what it is right now with the quality that it is because of Alphonic. And that is our Patreon shout-outs of the week.
This week we have 4 Patreon shoutouts, and we're going to kick it off right now, starting out with John, whose Twitter handle is @John72Tex.
John recently received his Brocat Core pin.
Woo!
Sent along a selfie showing off his pin.
I'm still waiting on my Brocat Core pin.
They're right there. There's a whole bag. Where are you going to put yours? Where are you going to put yours, Kelly? What's a good place? What are great places to put up your Brocat Core pin? And what is a Brocat Core pin?
I just wanted to complain about it.
Well, now you've gotten yourself into some shit.
There's many great places you can put up your Brocat Core pin. What it is the Brocat Core logo, and it's a little pin, an exclusive pin for Patreon backers who have been our backers for 12 months or more. And you can put this pin on your shirt. You could put this pin in your sofa. Boop, stick it right in there if you want. There's lots of places to display this pin on a corkboard. Where you keep the rest of your pins, we have a nice collection of Disney pins. You could put it right in there.
It's the perfect size for that, too. In case they don't want to wait the year on Patreon to get their free pin, where can they buy it?
TheReasonsI'mBroke.com. There is a website. Shop.
And it's also got the pictures of the pin. It's got some nice photography that I'm pretty proud of, I gotta say.
Are you a master photographer?
I am now. Using my student film fucking shit.
Your phone, you mean?
Well, there's a way you can pose a shot, Kelly. It's not just a camera. It's not just the fucking video camera. Next Patreon shout out goes out to Brian on Twitter @BrianSchaub1. He sent over a joke tweet of a story stating that Kingdom of Hearts 3 would release late this year.
I don't know what that game is. It sounds like fake news. But I am still waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 to release.
Will it release this year, Kelli?
No, hell no.
Will it release next month?
No.
As the bet between Bobby and I states.
No. Hell no.
So I just sent them a gif of this baby like falling over laughing. Like, it's not going to release. It'll release when I'm long and gone. when our third generation grandchildren are around.
Aw, well, I mean, good for our third generation grandchildren.
They'll enjoy that.
Our great grandchildren.
That's right.
Is that it?
Let me ask you something. This hasn't popped up, but it was a pretty heated argument between, and we'll continue the Patreon shoutouts, but yeah, heated kind of discussion between Al and I, like on one side, and then the Lazy Gaming guys on the other, who are huge Kingdom of Hearts fans. And they were saying that the Kingdom of Hearts 3 should not be on the Xbox One because the Xbox systems have never had any Kingdom of Hearts games leading up to it. So their logic and my argument the whole time was that they're such big fans that they don't want their precious sullied by like it, because they don't like the Xbox at all. So they don't think that their precious should be sullied with the system. And Scott did, make the valid argument that, if that were the case, I would not want what he suggested, which was a collection of Kingdom of Hearts. Like he said, if you're going to bring out Kingdom of Hearts 3 on the Xbox One, then they should do the collection that we own, which is Kingdom of Hearts 1 through 2.8 or whatever they call it.
Right.
And bring that out on the Xbox first before they do Kingdom of Hearts 3, because it is such a story-based game. And my counter-argument was that the story is so fucked anyway that it doesn't matter if they don't get the story, because no one gets that fucking story. Even Julian admitted, like, we don't really know the story.
No, hell no, we don't. But we still play the games.
But my argument was it's still going to make a shit ton of money on the Xbox, even
is.
if you don't bring out the other Kingdom of Hearts games.
Of course it is. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't bring it out on Xbox. I understand where they're coming from. I get that. It's never been on Xbox. It's only ever been PlayStation.
And Nintendo.
And the
DS
Nintendo, yeah. So only bring it out on those. I get that. But we are now so far in the future that some of those people who played it only on PlayStation and bought their PlayStation just for that, maybe now don't have a PlayStation anymore. So are you going to make them go buy another play? Like, I don't know.
They did bring up that argument, and they said that fans that wanted to play Kingdom of Hearts 3 since Kingdom of Hearts 1 and 2 would have stuck to PlayStation systems because they expect to play eventually Kingdom of Hearts 3. But I know those are like the hardcore gamers that are like hardcore Kingdom of Hearts fans, I should say. Because
the rest of us have given up hope.
Well, I would say like the more casual gamers, which I would say is a majority of gamers. Like you may disagree, but like I've seen hardcore gamers, and that's not the majority of them. I worked at GameStop for 8 years. There's a lot of casual gamers, and most of those they'll just go to whatever, believe it or not, whatever system's the cheapest, whichever one they perceive value in it. And value is not only the Kingdom of Hearts franchise. It is what their friends are on, what games they play, what games they want to play online with.
Well, another thing for us, too, is how often do we really play games on our system? Hardly ever. What do we use it for? We use it for streaming. We use it for playing Blu-rays. Does Xbox play Blu-rays?
That is, I believe they came out with an update that did eventually now plays Blu-rays. I could be wrong, though, but I believe they do, yeah.
So people may be using it for that, and if Xbox is the cheapest or somebody gave you an Xbox or anything like that. Regardless, by bringing it out on more systems, you're going to make more money because you're not excluding anybody.
Okay, I was just curious where you sat on that argument.
This game's never coming out, so I don't
it doesn't matter,
care.
yeah.
Right, whatever.
Who gives a shit? Next Patreon backer.
Our next Patreon backer is Christian, whose Twitter handle is at Rocketman_131.
He retweeted the, quote, Snyder Superman is too mopey and depressing, end quote, meme, which actually cut together the many times Superman smiles in Man of Steel.
And
only
I'm sure
Man of Steel.
It's a whole lot.
It is a whole ton. He's very much a strong DCEU supporter, which is why Christian and I see eye to eye on the DC universe.
Good.
An intellectual, if you will.
And our final shout out this week goes out to Kat, whose Instagram is at Katshaw.
She's a very, very big Kesha fan.
Oh.
And she ended up changing her Instagram, so now it's Katsha.
I got it. I was like, this is not her Instagram, Dan. What are you doing? We've talked about this before.
And it's spelled Katt. She's been putting up brewery and palm tree photography. As you know from the previous shout out, she is a photographer. She loves taking pictures. And recently she has gone to breweries, put up pictures of beer, put up pictures of like those canisters that have like the tubes going through them, all of that. And then beautiful palm trees, because palm trees are, I would say, one of the most beautiful trees, and they're surround us here. Maybe because you grew up with them.
Have you seen that fucking anorexic palm tree around the corner? That is the ugliest palm tree I've ever seen.
Look, all palm trees are not created equal.
Listen, it's a super skinny, super tall palm tree, right? But then its palm leaves look like Doc Brown's hair, and I'm not even kidding.
You compared him to one of the coolest like doctors in film history. This is great.
Whatever.
Coolest scientists.
I'm going to show you this palm tree next time we drive past it.
Please do.
Because it is not a pretty palm tree.
I think it is a product of you just growing up with them.
Probably.
You don't appreciate them.
You know why I don't like palm trees?
Why is that?
Palmetto bugs.
Yeah, palmetto. Fair enough.
Fucking palmetto bugs. You know what's a pretty tree? A magnolia.
Magnolias are beautiful. What do you think of pine trees?
I like pine trees.
Do you?
I do like.
They make
pine
a
trees.
fucking mess.
All right, fine.
In Illinois, we had like 4. They grew all over the fucking place. It's like you could just go to your backyard, chop down a tree, and you'll have another fucking pine tree the next year. But in our corner of the backyard in the home I grew up with, it was only pine trees. It was like a mini forest back there, and just pine needles on the ground. No grass grew there. And they just made a fucking mess of little fucking pine needles.
Have you seen oak trees?
You always talk about them. Is it just they look like regular trees to me?
Yeah, they're all the ones in the backyard all around our house. Fucking oak trees.
We have those up there too.
Have you seen them drop leaves?
Yes.
Have you felt the allergies that attack you when they drop these leaves?
I have. Now in Illinois, they drop all of their fucking leaves. Like 100%.
All right. Fair enough. I like pine trees. I like magnolia trees. I don't like palm trees.
Well, even if you don't like palm trees, you can go to Kat's Instagram and will say, that is a nice looking palm tree.
I probably will. Can she come take a picture of my anorexic Doc Brown palm tree?
And she'll probably make it look nice. She took pictures of you, Leo, and I.
And
those were good.
Leo looks sad.
Because he was cold. Can't help that. So thank you so much, Kat, Christian, Brian, and John, for backing us on Patreon. If you too would like to add to the show, add to our ramblings, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke. And just for $1 a month, you too can get your shout out every week. You get the podcast early every single week, and you also get an exclusive feed that gets you the show early, as well as enters you into the contests when we do run it, which more recently we had the Mark Waid signed comic book that a loose knock ended up winning.
But of course, guys, our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do is reach out to us on Twitter, follow us on Twitter, share things that we share on Twitter. Let us know what you think of the show. Let other people know about the show, and leave us a review on whatever podcatcher you use.
And the one thing I do want to promote, and it is the same as last week's, because we are coming up next week, will be episode number 300, is please leave us a voicemail on speakpipe.com/thereasonsimbroke. There is a link at thereasonsimbroke.com. There's a link on today's episode. Head on over to the description on today's episode. There's a link for speakpipe.com/thereasonsimbroke on your favorite device, on your phone that you're listening to the show on right now. You can actually click on the link from there while the episode still plays. It'll take you to the site. You click on the little button. It says send the voicemail. And right from your phone, the phones today have an amazing microphone. Send over a voicemail. Let us know what the podcast means to you, what you want to see of the next 300 episodes. We've already had 2 voicemails sent over for episode 300 from Kyle Lange and Matt68 on Twitter. So please add on to the clips. Send on over some clips for episode number 300.
And with that, guys, we will wrap up our portion of the podcast. At the end, like we said, we have our comic book writer review interview with
all those things
with Ted Anderson. I am not there. I was off taking care of our little Ninja Turtle Leo. But you did get the opportunity. This is the second time he's been on the show. He reached out and said, I'd like to come back on. And of course, we jumped at the opportunity. So thank you all so much for tuning in this week. I'm Palpa Kelli.
And I am Darth Vader Daniel.
And Brokettes, all will be well. I will see you next week.
All right, Brocat Core, for the comic book highlight of this week, we've got the return. We've got an interview return right here on the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. And this is the return, as you may have heard him before, a writer on My Little Pony, Adventure Time, Beginning of the End #1, which just released Wednesday or two Wednesdays ago. And we have the writer right here, Ted Anderson, returning to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. Welcome back, Ted.
Hello. Thanks for having me back, Daniel. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, always. You always, as I mentioned in the email, you always have a home here on the podcast. So you let me know when you want to come back on, and we can talk comics.
Thank you. Excellent. Yeah. Perfect.
So last week we had, Kelli and I had reviewed Adventure Time, The Beginning of the End, #1 of 3. It is a miniseries. As we said back on the interview, you had mentioned that the first issue is kind of like exploring the past of, and now I understand exactly what you meant by it, exploring more of the past of Finn and Jake, and more or less Finn too. And it looks like the present will be in issue 2, and then the future of Adventure Time into issues 2 and 3. How's the launch for Adventure Time been for you so far?
It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. I did a signing at my local comic shop in Minneapolis, the Source Comics and Games, if anyone wants to order from there. But it's been a lot of fun. I'm not the kind of person, I don't look up reviews. I didn't listen to your guys' reviews actually because I wanted to come into this fresh. So if you did insult me, I don't know about it now.
We just ragged on it for an hour.
Oh God, just totally ripped it apart. Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I did something that I do occasionally. I've done for my My Little Pony issues is I did annotations because I am that pretentious of a guy. Like I'm pretentious enough to think like, yes, people want to know all the thought that went into this. There's difficult thinking that went into this the creation of this issue. I did annotations for that, and people have reblogged that a couple times. It's floating around elsewhere. Just because, it was a fun thing to put together, and I'm glad that people are finally getting to see it and be like, oh yeah, so this is what he's trying to do. Oh, now I see. All right.
Did you put it up on Tumblr? I feel like I might have seen it, and I might have reblogged it. Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure you guys retweeted. I also put it up on Twitter. It's on Tumblr, but I tweeted about it too. Yeah. I use Tumblr a lot for the longer things just because, it's a longer piece.
Right.
But yeah, it's more just like it's half of it is like, where it came from, what was the basic idea? How did I come to this point, to that point? And then the other half is like, okay, this is a reference to episode, etc. And this is a reference to this thing from one of the comics and blah, 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 blah. Just because, I did a lot of research for this, man.
It shows. It really shows.
Well, it's like, again, like I watched that show religiously, and then I stopped for a while, and then I got back into it, and I'm like, oh, this is still good. This is still amazing, and that it's so great to be a part of that. And I'm trying to, I'm really trying to nail the feel of it because it has such a unique feel. It has such a weird vibe to it that's not. You can kind of very easily be like, oh yeah, Adventure Time, man, it's so weird. But it's like, it's more than just weird. It's a very specific kind of weird that's about growing up and like emotionally fraught confrontations and stuff. At the same time that, it is weird, but it's also like...
There's huge, very human stories behind the episodes, behind the comics.
Yeah, exactly. There's a reason that show and the comics have won so many awards is because it's not just like, oh, what wacky crap can we throw in there? It's like, no, there's a reason for a lot of this stuff. So I put a lot of annotations in there just because I felt like people, I want people to know like, okay, so this is what I started with, this is where I went, why I did this. This is so and as you mentioned, so the only things that they gave me when I came into this, and I think I said this in the previous interview too, but literally the only direction they gave me was issue 1 should be about the past, issue 2 should be about the present, and issue 3 should be about the future. So now that's all I started with, and so now the past has come out. What a weird way to say that. The past issue has come out, and so the present and the future are coming out shortly.
For all of the annotations, are you going to make it for issues 2 and 3 as well?
Oh yeah, and probably issue 2 is going to be the longest one because that's the one where I crammed in the most. Like, oh, remember this episode? Oh, remember this episode? Remember this thing mentioned in this episode? A little more than that. Like, I made the comparison last time. It's not Ready Player One. Like, I want to have a little more substance to what I'm referencing. But it is, there's a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, this is a really specific reference to one episode, and like this is a combination of this other thing, and I want to show off. I want to show people that I did my research.
Well, with all that hard work, I don't know if you've already planned this or if it's something that you've already asked, but would you be allowed to put up all of your references, like maybe in the trade paperback version of issues 1 through 3 when that releases? Or is there like some kind of like you can't mix the references to the show with the comic book?
I don't actually know. I know it's that kind of thing has been done in other. I've seen. There was there's the Mouse collection. There's MetaMouse, which is all of Art Spiegelman's references included in that, and then actually my pal Xander Cannon, who does Kaiju Max and Oni, he's working right now. I think this has been released, so I don't think this is a spoiler or anything. They're doing like mega gigantic sized editions of Kaiju Max that include all of his annotations of like, oh, this is a reference to an Ultraman episode or what have you. Mm-hmm. So it's been done for other series. I'd be flattered if they did it for this. I have no idea. I mean, I'm just one guy working on this. You've had Ryan North, you've had Kate Leth, you'd have Meredith the Grand working on Adventure Time. I'm just one little man. I don't know if they'd give me that kind of honor. It'd be nice, but yeah.
Why not? Give it a shot, especially if you have that many references. If you can physically give it to them, even better, because you can just print them out and print it in large font and have this stack. Like, put these references at the back. Like, I did all this work, or a long email. Like, I think that'd be a good way to do it.
Yeah, let's put all these annotations in there, please. Yeah. I don't know. It'd be kind of nice. I mean, I do want people to know about it because it is. Man, I sat through a lot of the others, the side books and the video games, and not everything was 100% up to Adventure Time standards. I shouldn't say that. What am I talking about? But I want people to know about where all the things came from. Yeah, but. I don't know. It'd be a nice idea, but for the moment, they're going to be free online, and I'll be doing them for issues 2 and 3, and I'm looking forward to those. Issue 2, I don't actually know when issue 2 drops, but sometime next month, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it should be sometime this month.
Right,
yeah, so it should be in another probably 2 to 3 weeks at max, 3 weeks, because it is once a month, right?
Yeah, it's a once a month. It's just these 3 issues, yeah. Which it's a lot to cram into 3 issues, but it was fun. I'm enjoying it. But yeah, and again, I mean, I still don't actually know when they're airing the finale or even what happens in the finale. I don't know if they're going to continue the comics after this or not. I wish I could tell you either way, but it's been a trip. It's been a lot of fun because it's weird coming in to write this particular story because this story, I mean, this is a story that's almost entirely about Finn. Like that first issue, it's sort of just about Finn's life and history. And one of the things that I was kind of wishing, I mean, as I'm looking back through it, I'm like, oh, I could have done this. I could have done it like this. And one of the things I'm realizing as I'm looking back through this is we don't really get a whole lot of depth on a lot of the other characters. There's not as much, like, I would have loved to talk more about like Jake's past or some of the other really minor characters like Flame Princess or Ice King's past. Ice King's past we covered pretty extensively, but like, it's mostly a story about Finn. And I mean, that makes sense because it's a show about Finn. Mm-hmm. You can get so much out of so many minor characters in the show. Like every character on that show has their own like weird hero story they're going through. And we only happen to see bits of them except for Finn's, and we see most of his. But like every other character is confronting weird obstacles and strange demons and stuff like that. And you could do a full miniseries about any of them. But yeah, for this thing, I'm focused mostly on Finn just because, I mean, he's the main character. He's on the cover of everything. You kind of got to do it about him.
Well, I think you should pitch Jake the beginning of the end, number 1 of 3 next time.
Exactly. Yeah, the tie-in series. You see it from his perspective, and then I'll do one about Shelby, the worm that lives in Jake's viola, and then I'll do one about yeah, exactly. I got a franchise going here. But yeah, I mean that's the Adventure Time way though. Is like you get these weird adventure heroic fantasies about one particular character, and everyone else kind of drifts to the background for a while. So yeah, this story is all about Finn. This one is all about Finn's beginnings, and there's flashbacks to so many older episodes. God, the whole sequence where they're walking down the hallway, those were actually mostly chosen by the artist Mari Julia. And they picked good ones. Obviously, I recognize the ones where Finn and Flame Princess kiss for the first time, and Finn's wrapped up like a burrito.
Yeah, little baby Finn. I was curious about that. Were these specifically chosen? That's cool that the art is. It's like you can almost let them do what they want on their end, and it's like they're going to pick something good.
Yeah. So that particular sequence, like the hallway sequence, I was like, kind of just pick random bits from previous episodes, and it's picked a pretty wide swath of them. Mostly ones from the earlier episodes because it's early series stuff. Everything else was pretty much chosen by me. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I want to throw in the Jiggler because I think the Jiggler is hilarious and I want to see more of the Jiggler. We showed up in one episode, man. Yeah, God, what else did I even throw in there? I'm trying to remember now. Well, the bits at the treehouse at the very beginning and end where they're in the snow, that was entirely invented for the thing just because it's never been covered in the show, and it kind of made sense to me to talk about it at some point, so I just threw it in there, essentially. But, yeah, everything else, I mean, like the appearance of Shoko and Oh God, I'm trying to remember all the stuff that was in there now. It's been a while.
You wrote this months ago, yeah.
yeah, I was writing about this when I talked to you guys. I'm trying to remember all the crap that I threw in there now. But yeah, there's been a lot that I threw in there, mostly from the early seasons, just because I was like, this is the stuff that drew me in the first place, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Mar obviously chose great moments and brought a real humanity to the whole thing, and their art is just so freaking wonderful. I really love their art.
Beautiful artwork, absolutely. That's one thing that I've always liked about Adventure Time, and also the various series around it, because Boom kind of lets this artist take more liberty with the characters and the designs, and you don't often see that in some of the more property-based comics where they have to follow a stricter character design so it reflects the show. But with Adventure Time, especially with the backup stories, that was one of the things that I first enjoyed with Adventure Time #1 and beyond, is those little backup stories that have these artists on there that just really change and reflect the characters based on their own artwork, but you still know that it's the Adventure Time universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are some. So like I said, I went back through a lot of the comics, and yeah, there's all these collections of backup stories that are 3 or 4 pages. Yeah, like you said, and they're such weird style, weird in comparison to the normal Adventure Time style, but like they're weird experiments, or they're following someone's interesting side styles. I mean, by comparison, and this is not to put down either show, but like by comparison, the My Little Pony comics have tended to be pretty strict to the formula.
Mm-hmm.
Artists definitely bring their own styles to it, but I mean, you gotta stick pretty closely to a lot of things. You got to get the colors just right and everything. There's been less. Oh, maybe we should cut this. No, I do not cut this part. No, when I say that there's less artistic experimentation, what I mean is that they hew closer to the character designs on that, because the character designs are meant to be. There's less individual flexibility than there is in Adventure Time, which is like a storyboard driven show. That's the one thing I kept getting from listening to interviews with the Adventure Time people, is it's like, the process, as far as I understand it, is one person comes up with the story, which is literally just like 2 or 3 pages, and then the storyboard artist goes off and does everything else, and like comes up with the dialogue and the weird situations, and they'll take one scene that was like a sentence in the storyboard and make it into half the episode or stuff like that. So it's very driven by an individual creator's style and what they want to draw and what they think is going to make for a good episode. So it's interesting to see that sort of reflected in the comics, like you said, because you have these comics where they get to show off their individual styles of like, oh, this is how I think the Ice King would look if I drew him, and he's really funky looking, but still the Ice King, but weird.
Yeah, more artistic for sure. One of the things I do want to ask, when you were doing your signing, were with the title of Adventure Time Beginning of the End, were a lot of people asking you, oh man, is this the end of it? Is this going to be it? Because I know at my comic shop, we cross-pulled it for everyone that was down for Adventure Time. Not a single subscriber kicked it back, but I did have that question of, oh, is this the finale? And I'm like, I don't know. You're going to have to read.
Yeah, and I didn't get that question a whole lot of times. People were interested. I mean, yeah, there were a couple of people wondering like, oh, is there going to be more? And I basically just had to keep going. Yeah, it's weird to say like, hey, this is tying into the finale, except it's not, because it's the end of the comics, but I actually don't know if it is, but it sort of is. It's a weird way to sell it, but I mean, not in a bad way, but it's its own little interesting side experimental story. And yeah, some people were wondering like, oh man, is this the last one? And I'm like, I wish I could tell you one way or the other, but I just have no clue. Yeah, people were curious though. And it's also, I saw a lot of people who were sort of like me, where we watched the show for a while, kind of fell out of it for a while, and then we're coming back into it and discovering like, oh, they kept going. Like they kept doing weird stuff. They kept adding strange characters along the way, and like, yeah, it's interesting to see a lot of like lapsed Adventure Time fans. And it's a show that like, I mean, that's probably just due to the sort of the ways in which it was shown, and there were odd switchings of schedules and stuff like that. So people just kind of left off watching it, and now years later we come back and discover it was good all along. Thanks to streaming services. Thank you, Hulu, for putting this whole thing up on your service, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to watch it.
Well, plus the show has also been going on for so many years that there's a whole new audience already enjoying this that jumped in on much later seasons.
Yeah, in season 7 or 8 or whatever. Yeah, no, I was watching this back in college, man. God, I'm old. But yeah, like the audience has sort of not shifted, but it's been pulling in people continuously in a really cool way, and I like that a lot. So yeah, it's been a hell of a lot of fun. It's been a great comic. I can't wait to see people's reactions to the rest of it. I just got in the pencils, or I just got in the inks for the first half of issue 3. They're working like mad over there, and they look amazing, of course, as usual. There was, in particular, there's a character in issue 2 who I wasn't actually planning to add, but I emailed Mario and Julia early in the process. I'm like, oh, so are there any characters you really don't want to draw, or are there any characters you really do want to draw? And they were like, actually, I really like drawing characters X, Y, Z. And I'm like, oh, character Y, I haven't done anything with them. I'm going to put in a huge long scene with them specifically because you like that character. And I'm being very cagey because, of course, I can't reveal anything.
Yeah.
But there's a sequence in the issue 2 that is very much like Mari liked that character, and I realized, so it's another thing where it's like anytime you mention a character, like, oh yeah, that character, I love them. I never think about them, but I love them too. And so yeah, it's basically entirely due to them that I threw in a whole scene with that character. So, but yeah, I'm so pumped. I really can't wait for people to check it out.
For Adventure Time, beginning of the end, 1 through 3, once those release, we're going to talk about a different project that you do have coming up.
Yes.
But, can you, to wrap up the kind of Adventure Time universe portion, or at least the Boom version, is there any project there aside from My Little Pony that you can at least hint at that you are working on?
No. that could mean a couple of things. It could mean I have something and I can't talk about it, or it could mean I don't have anything and I can't talk about that either. I will say, my work with Boom is hopefully not done at all, because I love Boom a lot.
Yeah.
I am still doing pony issues. I can say that much. I just turned in a pony issue that'll be out sometime in this fall.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pony issues are still coming out. Because hey, man, it's a gravy train. I'm going to ride that as long as I can. I know, I love the ponies. But yeah, I don't have anything at Boom that I can talk about, and take that for however you want to take it.
Well, I will say this, I haven't read issues 2 or 3 yet, obviously, but I definitely hope that this miniseries is not the end for Adventure Time books written by Ted.
Well, the Adventure Time books in general, I'll say, yeah, because so many really good people have worked on that comic, and I'm so happy to see more of it and more of it. But for me personally, thank you as well. Yeah.
Of course. So you are, this just got announced, and this is coming up in the next previews catalog. It should show up there based on the press release and the kind of reveal of this also. To anyone that does subscribe to the previews catalog, not in the one with the Sandman universe on the cover, but it'll be an all new previews, the latest one coming up late this month.
I think it's the 20th of June, I think. So
yeah, usually it is towards the later half of it, so it should be yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. But you are this is an all new independent creation by yourself, titled Moth and Whisper.
Yes. Yeah, so this is the exclusive hot new reveal, hitting. We're actually talking about this before it's even been revealed.
That's true.
This is this new series I've got from Aftershock Comics, who are putting out some amazing stuff in general. Aftershock, they're the people that do Insects, they're the people that do
Monster Mechanica.
Monster Mechanica, Animosity. I think, do they do I'm missing something else. Jimmy's Bastards. They do a whole lot of really interesting, innovative genre bending stuff, and I am so proud to be able to announce I'm doing a mini series for them called Moth and Whisper. Yes, just Moth and Whisper, not Moth and Whisper. Yes, I was saying yes. Anyway, this is a series that I've been working on for a few years now, and I'm really happy to have been able to bring there. And it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be big. This is my first creator-owned project, and I'm really happy because it's the kind of thing that's meant for Aftershock, because it doesn't quite fit a whole lot of different genres. So it's sort of a YA book. It's teen appropriate, I'll tell you that much. There's no swearing, there's no sex, there's no horrible eviscerations or anything in the comic. Although even that's teen appropriate these days. It's a cyberpunk sci-fi thriller, YA friendly, set in a dystopian cyberpunk city sometime in the near future. We got facial recognition drones flying everywhere. Privacy is a lie. Identity is a commodity. And the two greatest thieves in this city are the Moth and the Whisper. But what almost nobody knows, the Moth and the Whisper had been missing for 6 months. And the current Moth and Whisper is actually their kid, pretending to be them while they search for their missing parents.
Nice.
So, yeah, this is a project, like I said, I've been working on it for a long time. And it's So I have to say, I have to bring up my artist friend on this, Jen Hickman. They are doing an amazing job of it. And Jen and I met a few years ago at a con, and we really hit it off. We worked. So we actually, the last thing the two of us did, we did an 8-page comic for The Amazing World of Gumball, which is absolutely leads right into cyberpunk thrillers. Like that's absolutely the exact same thing, right? But we've been looking for a project to do together for the longest time, and this really fit both of us because we were both huge video game nerds. And specifically, we're both into like the Dishonored series and the Deus Ex series.
Perfect.
And the Thief series. And that is like all of this stuff combined into a comic. This is a thiefy, heisty, sci-fi, cyberpunk, denial of identity, teenage adventure thriller story. That's a lot of words.
Yeah. In the past, Jen did work also on Gem and the Holograms, but number one with a bullet. I had a couple of issues there that credited Jen, and even when you take a look, is she going to go more towards that type of style, or is there something more unique going to be developed for this miniseries?
It's definitely. So the thing is Gem and the Holograms, when I look at it in terms of Jen's style, that actually, it seems really weird to me because I know Gem stuff mostly from doing Jen, not Gem. God, that's going to be really confusing.
Yeah.
I know Jen stuff. They tend to use a lot of really like heavy ink wash stuff and do some really cool stuff with really dark ink and high contrast stuff. So Gem and the Holograms actually looks really weird because I'm like, oh my God, there's so many colors. There's so many like nicely defined lines. It's a weird thing. So this is almost more of not a return to form, but it's sort of more in Jen's natural style. It's sort of more in Jen's normal wheelhouse stuff. Not that their Gem and the Hologram stuff isn't great, but that's more, again, it's a little more skewed towards the styles of the show and the comic
property. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is really, when I told Jen about this, when I first told them, like, hey, I'm doing a comic that's like cyberpunk thriller, genderqueer stuff in a cyberpunk city, and they were like, oh hell yes, sign me up. Because this is absolutely in their wheelhouse for so many different reasons, and yeah, they've been knocking it out of the park. I couldn't show you any art, so I can't actually show you what it looks like. Art will be available if you poke around once the show releases. There'll be art you can see online. I can't show you any yet. I'm sorry.
Plus, everyone can follow Jen Hickman, and much like many comic artists, accidentally leak artwork ahead of certain releases.
Yes. Oh, they have. Actually, I'm looking up their Twitter right now. Let me. Well, I gotta know this. Like, I know I follow them.
If there is a leaked image, send it to me, and it will be this episode's cover photo. We'll just get it everywhere.
I just realized though, are they not on? Wait a minute. Yeah, I'll have to look their stuff. Oh, you know what? It's under a pseudonym. That's right. It's Unicorns. It's unicorns with M's instead of N's.
Gotcha.
Well, there's one here. They're doing their thumbnails, but they're like really, really thumbnails. You can't tell anything.
You had mentioned a genderqueer character. This is the main protagonist here.
Yes. So I want to kind of be clear about this because it's something that's important to me, but at the same time, I want to be clear about how I'm talking about it and stuff like that. So the main character in the show, in the comic, Nikki, is genderqueer, which in this case, in this comic, they don't identify as male or female, and part of their shtick is they're a master thief and infiltrator. So they have a whole bunch of gadgets that basically let them change clothes and presentation instantaneously. So they can look from anything from a sharp dressed man in a suit to a homeless woman on the street in a blink of the eye. Mm-hmm. So in just a few panels, they'll transform completely and utterly. And that's part of their shtick as the best burglar of the city. But it's also just part of who they are. They're someone who doesn't necessarily ascribe to either gender and doesn't. They live outside the system in more ways than one. Mm-hmm. They're queer in the sense that they don't belong to the city as a whole. Their face isn't in the facial recognition databases. They're not officially a citizen of the city, and they're also just queer in the sense they don't subscribe to the gender binary. So,
which also fits with the whole teenage thief thing on their cover. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're very. It's a story about identity. It's a story about sort of how they define themselves and how they get to talk about themselves. So yeah, so I should say, so they use they them pronouns as does Jen, the artist.
Okay.
And they are, I mean, they're themselves. So this is also, I want to be clear about this as well. So first of all, I'm not genderqueer. I'm a cis man. That means, I was born a man. I identify as a man. As all that. I'm not. I am not part of the LGBTQIA community in any way. I'm Mr. Privileged white dude over here. But I have a lot of friends who are. I have a lot of friends who are part of that community in one way or another. And I know a lot of people who don't see themselves represented in books. And it's like, I have the choice between doing another book about a, straight white dude, or doing a book about someone who, belongs to some marginalized identity or another. And I wanted to do that. And I also wanted to do it right. So, I'm doing my research on this. I probably am going to get some shit wrong. I'm always going to get some shit wrong.
We'll see how long the article is from the Mary Sue when this comes out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm doing my best. I'm not going to present myself as Mr. The second coming of Joss Whedon with, like, oh, look at me, I'm Mr. Feminist over here. I know you guys hate Joss Whedon. Believe me, I hate him too. that guy.
Joey, thank you, Joey Whedon.
You're right, Joey Whedon, of course. Joss is just the name he made up. Anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, like I want to be clear. I am trying to, I'm trying to present a character whose gender identity is a marginalized gender identity. Who, they're also. I want to make this clear too. There's not some secret where like, oh, they're secretly a robot, or they're secretly a genetic experiment, or they're an alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just. They're just who they are. They're a human being, and they're just genderqueer. Just friggin' deal with it.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't require it should not require like a whole issue of, and this is how what made him change, and it's like this is the character. That's it. Let's keep going.
And that's also, this is another thing that from people that I've listened to and from friends of mine who have talked about this, it is a thing where I'm not trying to tell the story of like, oh, this is what it means to be genderqueer. This is what it means to be X, because I'm not that, and doing that would mean that I'm talking over people who are. This is a character who is genderqueer, but it's not a story about being genderqueer. If that makes sense.
That's the difference. No, that really is a difference.
Yeah, I'm not trying to speak over anybody else. So, yeah, so I'm being careful about this, just because I want to, I don't want people thinking I'm taking more credit than I should on this. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you are somebody, if you are somebody who, whose gender identity isn't recognized, if you're somebody who doesn't feel like you can connect to any characters, who doesn't have a character that you feel represents you, maybe give this a try and see if you like it, see if you think, and yeah, buy more copies, please. Yeah, of course, that's always the message that it comes down to is buy more copies.
That's true. Yeah, there won't be more unless people buy this. Speaking of sales, I do have. I don't know if you're at all concerned about this particular portion of it, or if it's because it's an independent book that maybe you have a higher chance of having higher sales. But recently, over the last 2 years, Marvel did have that shift of more diverse characters and more minority characters, more queer characters, and more female characters. And people celebrated it on Twitter, on Tumblr, on Instagram. And then the sales didn't follow through. Do you think that it was a problem of it being one of the big two, or do you think that the audience is there and they just maybe didn't identify with certain Marvel characters? Are you afraid of like that change that is happening, that maybe they won't find this particular title?
That's a really good question. It's a question with a lot of factors building into it, because I do partly think it's because Marvel's one of the big. That as a purely neutral observer, I never worked in a comic store. Everything I know from reading various blogs, and I have to filter out as much bias as I can. Mm-hmm. Just from sort of as much of a neutral viewpoint as I can muster up, I do think it's partly because Marvel just is one of the big two, which means it has a history, it has a legacy. It has stuff stretching back to 1963 and then beyond with the timely characters as well. It has these characters who are very ingrained in public knowledge. When you have Spider-Man, you have Peter Parker, you have Central High's only professional wallflower. Not Central High, what's the name? Anyway, you have this character who's been around for literal decades, almost over half a century. Good God. Who's insanely famous and extremely well known. And if you want to appeal to people who are coming to this from a different perspective, if you want to appeal to this to, Black kids coming into walking and buying comics, if you want to appeal to this to, genderqueer kids, if you want to appeal to kids who have this experience or that experience, yeah, it's a good idea to have characters who are more diverse. But at the same time, you also have these characters who have been around for forever and have an established identity. And so you're put in this kind of untenable spot of, well, do we change the characters, in which case we piss off a lot of the older people, or do we try to make new characters who will appeal to the younger kids but won't ever have the same recognition, and not ever, but you never say never, but like who don't have the same level of sales, and thus, I mean, their sales are probably, I don't know, I don't actually know if this is true or not. You can probably tell me better than I can, but it seems like, I mean, their sales are probably not going to be as big as, original Spider-Man, and I mean, this would apply to DC too. Ms. Marvel is sort of an outlier to the best of my knowledge, just because she's a character who, the original Ms. Marvel wasn't exactly, the most famous character ever. So the new one is sort of getting to establish her own identity. But like, I mean, you've got Ultimate Spider-Man, but he's Ultimate Spider-Man. He's a separate Spider-Man. I think it's a question of you're fighting the legacy of your own characters, which is not a good position to be in, because either you end up sort of trying to keep the status quo or trying to change it, and either one of those things is going to piss some people off.
True.
I think that in some cases, a lot of smaller companies, or not the big two, have tried doing more experimental things and gotten some good results out of it. I mean, look at Valiant with their characters like Faith.
Yes.
That's a superhero universe. That's whole new superhero characters, and they're characters that are designed to appeal to specific. Well, okay, that sounds a little mercenary when I say they're designed to appeal to certain demographics. I mean, it's more
targeted at a certain audience. Sure.
It's targeted at a certain. It's just people realizing, hey, we don't have a character who's X. We don't have a character who's Y. We've never had a character who's this, that, or the other thing. Maybe we should change that. And they also don't have the baggage of like, people aren't going to come screaming into the comic store because they changed. Oh God, I don't know enough about Valiant to say this.
And that's not my faith. Yeah, I got
Yeah, exactly. That's not my faith. Like there wasn't a faith around there. So I think that it's more tenable. And there's also, I mean, there's further pressures on this as well. There's the further pressures of like a lot of younger comics readers, new comics readers are tending to get their books more from bookstores or libraries. And those formats, it seems to me like smaller publishers have kind of gotten it into their heads to concentrate on those formats as opposed to the issue-based format. And so they're tending to be doing better in there. Whereas it's difficult for Marvel because, of course, every time you turn around, they cancel a title and they have to put out a different numbering volume on the thing. It's impossible to keep track of. Oh, yeah. I remember trying to read every issue of, oh, God.
Insert Marvel character. Like, you'll get it right.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I would try to read every issue with this character. And it's like, it's impossible because they appeared in 6 different titles and they're all one letter different from each other. And they all lasted half a year. And yeah, like, there's a level at which Marvel and DC's size and model works against them. I feel just because they're designed to be issue-based publishers, and that's no longer the thing. Like that's no longer what it's, how people read comics and how people expect their comics to be. So it's a problem of like inertia. They're already going in one direction. It's harder for them to change course. Whereas a lot of smaller publishers, I feel like have a chance to do that, to kind of change course and move zippily around them like a speedboat, to continue the metaphor.
Well, it does sound like that's what the advantage of that you have with Moth and Whisper, in that it is an all new creation. It is an all new miniseries coming out from an independent publisher, Aftershock Comics. So it's not an established base already. It's everyone that's going to be reading this is going to be discovering it for the first time and jumping on board for issues 2, 3, and beyond. So I think you really nailed it there, where it is about the legacy of characters, and that's why it didn't always work when Marvel did that full rehaul of these characters. And then in this case, or in many independent publishers, they are having success not only with the trade paperbacks, but also with what should be a successful first, second, third, and fifth, up to 5th issue of Moth and Whisper as well. Because I know Aftershock in general, they do tend to do well compared to a lot of the indie publishers out there.
Yeah, and it's also, Aftershock. So I should also mention, I don't think if I have said this before, Moth and Whisper for right now is a 5-issue miniseries, and it is designed to fit that. Like this is a story arc. This is from beginning to end. You're going to get a complete story about Nikki searching for their parents. Whether or not they find their parents you'll have to read to find out. But like, it's its own little separate thing. It's 5 issues. That's all that's signed for right now, which is the downside. Like, I don't have a guarantee of like, I get to do 100 issues. No. Depending on its sales, depending on how it's received and so forth, there might be more. I would love there to be more, but for right now, there's 5 issues, and that's all that we can say. And yeah, Marvel, like, it's just, I can't even knock Marvel for its model just because it's what it's had for decades, and it's kind of hard to change from that. And also, yeah, I mean, Marvel and DC, they reboot every 20 minutes. They keep trying these ways to there's a whole lecture here about how superhero universes, you want to keep them in the status quo while at the same time you got to change, and like those two forces inexorably have to clash, and like
yes.
You can't always have Clark Kent working at the Daily Planet because newspapers are dying, so you make him into a blogger. But like even in the 70s, he was a TV journalist. Like there's every 20 minutes they kind of change things around, and the established version of the character only lasts so long before you have to shake things up somehow. Tony Stark was no longer injured in the Korean War. Wait, Korean or yeah, like he was injured in the Korean War, and like no, of course not. At this point, it's like Afghanistan, I think, or Iraq maybe. Like there's this sense that you always want it to be updated, but you can only update so far, and you can't change too much from the formula, or else you piss off these people or you piss off those people, and yeah. So what this all boils down to is I'm very happy being able to write this because it's my own thing. It's very much my own thing. The downside is, of course, nobody knows who I am, and it's a new thing, and nobody quite knows exactly what it's going to be. And people don't know me from Adam. I don't expect people to come flocking to my door for this stuff, but like. But it's a new thing, and it's its own thing, and I can do whatever the heck I want with it, man. I can do all the crazy crap I want.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, man. I'm not gonna do any crazy crap. Well, it's sort of crazy, but like I'm taking the established premise and I'm getting to run with it in whatever direction I want, and that's what's really great about it. And yeah, Aftershock has been really helpful and supportive about that. They're really working to make sure that it gets to be its own thing and not. Can it be a little more like, I don't even know, Spider-Man 2099 or whatever? We're talking of other reboots. Oh boy. They're not trying to make it into, a superhero ripoff or anything. It gets to just be its own weird thing. And so it's going to be what it is. And yeah, so 5 issues for now. I don't yet have the order code for issue 1, and I feel terrible about that. It should be coming out middle of September. I think like September 12th, 13th, something like that. I don't remember whatever that Wednesday is.
As I mentioned, it should be in the previews catalog. So if you're looking through there, it should have the item code there. Otherwise, any comic shop worth its weight is you can just tell them I want a sub, and they will definitely let you know.
Yeah, man. Moth and
Whisper.
Jen Hickman. It's gonna be 5 issues, maybe more. It's gonna definitely be collected because, hey, man, collections are great. I'm a librarian. I love collections. I mean, there's so much stuff that I would want that I know kids want to be. I was like, oh, I want to read, Black Panther. I want to read this. I want to read that. And it's like you can get some of that stuff. Some of that stuff you really can't. Some of that stuff is impossible to keep in stock, and of course it falls apart in 5 minutes because it's not exactly made with a lot of care either. Yeah. But yeah, this is gonna be collected. Actually, wait, I don't know if there is a guarantee yet. Let's say we're probably going to have a trade paperback of it.
Most likely, yeah. Aftershock does tend to do the trades on them.
Yes, they do really nice trades. They have consistent design across the spines and everything. It looks cool. Mm-hmm. So 5 issues, maybe more if people like it enough. If people go up to the retailer and say, I want more Moth and Whisper. Retailers tell us, I guess.
Well, with your dollar, the sales will tell them. So
exactly, your dollar.
Tweets are great, Instagram's great, but you got to support the book by buying it.
Yes. So yeah. Also, I should say your social media. So if you want to follow, I'm on Twitter. I'm Tedley Anderson. TEDLY ANDERSON. My wonderful and talented artist Jen Hickman. They are at Unicorns. It's unicorn. It's unicorns, but with M's instead of N's. So it's UMICORMS. Yeah, yes. It trips me up every time. It's so hard to say too. Anyway.
Yeah, there will be links to all of this in today's show notes episode as well.
Yes, and also there's going to be a story about it in the Hollywood Reporter, so you'll actually be able to see some of the art, because I know it's kind of hard to talk about stuff when there isn't any art to see it. But yeah, you'll be able to take a look at it. You'll be able to see the incredible stuff that Jen's been putting together for this book. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, by the time you're listening to this, right now you're listening to the episode, that artwork, it should be out on, as you mentioned, on the Hollywood Reporter, and then very soon to a previews catalog near you. The final question I did want to ask, you had mentioned that the story you had worked on for a couple of years. Can you reveal if all these years that you were working on it, is there writing past issue 5 complete, or was it just for the first 5 issues?
it went in a couple of different directions. There are plots for later issues. there are plots that we could dip into for later sequences. There's potential things about another vigilante in the city. There's a crisis in the refugee district. There's this kind of heist. There's that kind of heist. There are ideas for future stories. There's nothing written. And actually, I actually kind of had to tone it. This is weird to say. I had to kind of tone down this first story arc. I had a bigger, sort of more evolved, more elaborate kind of political conspiracy thing, but it's so much about this individual character. It's so much about just Nikki that I kind of wanted to tone it down and make it a little more just about them. It's just about their reactions to the situation and trying to find out what's going on and what's real. And it's not as huge as involved, but those stories exist. Those stories could definitely happen, and I would love for them to. So, yeah. Again, I know I've said it a bunch of times, but never stop selling yourself.
That's right.
please buy my comics.
That's right. Moth and Whisper from Aftershock Comics, issues 1 through 5. There's one listener question that he always wants me to ask every single time there's a guest. And I think he chastised me last time for not asking you. He wants to know, it's unrelated to comics, but he wants to know because he's a huge fan. Which Pokemon starter do you choose?
Oh man. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. I bought Pokemon Blue the week it came out because I was like the exact right age. I was like 10 years old. I got really into it for like a week and then I just kind of stopped. And it was like I definitely have like that obsessive like collection streak, but for some reason, I don't know why, Pokemon specifically just did not click with me. So
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. And no disrespect to Pokemon. I'm not hating on it as a series or anything. I think it's great. I love the designs. I think it's cute. I think it's cool. But like it just did not click with me. So I don't know. So I will tell you, I started with Bulbasaur.
Yes.
But here's the thing. I'm pretty sure I only picked Bulbasaur because I also had a subscription to Nintendo Power. So I knew that a grass type Pokemon would be great against like the first two gym bosses. So like it was purely a mathematical decision. It's like it wasn't like, oh, I think this guy looks cool, or oh, a dragon, that guy's awesome. It's like, nope, I know this dude is gonna kick their asses. That's why I want him. So it's a little bit, it was kind of calculating. But yeah, oh man, Pokemon, like, Pokemon is all right by me. It wasn't ever my thing, but I know everybody else in the world loves it. I'm all in favor. But yeah.
Well, I can tell you chose the right answer because that is my favorite Pokemon of all time. So nicely done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm real happy, and I love when it levels up and it gets like those massive frig off teeth. And it's just like it's a friggin' monster, man. It's gonna kill you. It's a plant that's gonna eat you. I love that dude. Anyway, yeah, Bulbasaur.
Perfect. All right. So to wrap this up, anything else that you wanted to talk about that we did not touch on?
No. I mean, I have other stuff coming up some stuff I can't talk about, and then some stuff that's just sort of so far off I don't really have anything interesting to say. I have a book with Lion Forge that's coming out, but not till like next June, so a year from now. So that's already technically been announced, but like there's nothing to show yet. So yeah, I have other stuff. I have some stuff I can't talk about. I would love to, but yeah, at the moment, please, for the love of God, go up by Moth and Whisper. Please, check out Adventure Time too. Yeah, Ted Lee Anderson on Twitter and on Tumblr and God, probably on Xbox Live. I think, I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, a lot of people clamoring for my Xbox Live handle. I know. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, you let us know when the next project is, and by all means, feel free to come back on the show and talk about your next book, your next comic. In the meantime, as he mentioned, Adventure Time, Beginning of the End, it is still in print for issue 1, so if you want to jump on this 3-issue miniseries, you can still reorder with issue 1 and then jump into 2 and 3 on time as they release. And of course, with the latest previews catalog that is coming up at the end of this month, at the end of June, by the end of June, it should be in your sub box. And that will have in the Aftershock Comics section, Moth and Whisper #1 added to your subscription. It's a 5-issue miniseries, and that is
I also
another.
I also just remembered retailer, or not retailer variant, but there's a variant cover by oh god, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Jorge Corona, who is I think up for an Eisner this year for best cover artist.
Nice.
So, yeah, I forgot to mention that.
How do they pull that off? Is that all Aftershock that takes care of that, or do you get to be like?
Actually, that was Jen. Jen is in a studio with Jorge and then his I I think his girlfriend, Morgan Beam. Jen's in the studio with a lot of cool people. So yeah, Jen knows Jorge, and that's why he's doing the cover, and it looks phenomenal.
Oh, that's
of
perfect.
Course. He's nominated for freaking Eisner. Yeah. So yeah, if you get there, you get the variant cover.
Get cover A and get cover B. Why not?
Please, absolutely. But yeah.
Very good. Awesome. So thank you so much, Ted, again, for returning to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. You will find links to his Twitter as well and his Tumblr. I will put in a link to the index to Adventure Time Beginning of the End if you want to follow along with the series. And then once they officially solicit Moth and Whisper, I will go back and I will add a description as well for the late listeners on the Brocat Core, so they can also check out some of the artwork for it as it releases.
Yes, please. All right. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
And that'll do it for this episode, Brocat Core. As always, all will be well. See you next week.